Boy, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett has no issue giving Republicans the business on anything, including immigration. Check this out.
Thank you so much. I just want to clarify that usually when we talk about racism in the Republican Party, it has to do with things like deleting the history of Jackie Robinson, deleting the history of Harriet Tubman, or deciding that the Tuskegee Airmen should be deleted, or maybe just defunding the African American Museum. The list kind of goes on and on and on, but I am not here to talk about why they are racist. I am here to talk about some other things as it relates to immigration. So let's get to that. You know, it's interesting because we got all these theories. I don't know why we put up with getting data and facts if we just gonna sit here and talk about how we feel. So, you know, maybe we can inject some facts into these feelings. I'm not really sure. But as somebody who has actually practiced criminal defense, I don't know if there's anybody else in here who has, I can tell you that I have handled thousands of cases, not hundreds of cases, thousands on the state level in Texas, Arkansas, and the federal level. And I can tell you that, you know what? If I had to look at the vast majority of the cases that I was representing criminal defendants on, the vast majority of them just didn't happen to be immigrants. These are just the facts of my experience, and maybe the immigrants went to somebody else. I don't know, but I can tell you in my actual experience in real life, in reality, and not in this fallacy world that y'all are making up where you hate on everybody. So my Republican colleagues are here using today to continue pushing this false narrative of sanctuary cities harboring criminals. Yet right here in D.C., we have a 34-count felon being harbored in the White House. The hypocrisy coming from your side of the aisle over concerns regarding lawlessness is outrageous. Right now, House Republicans are conducting town halls with constituents lying about our legal system. That, quote, there is no due process if you come here illegally because you violated the law. That immigrants, quote, are not entitled to due process. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say that. We all want to live in a country where we respect the law. So I'm a bit surprised that Republicans aren't up in arms with Trump detaining and deporting U.S. citizens and people who are lawfully present here in the United States. What Trump and ICE are doing is a disgrace, and it's all being done without respect for our laws. For example, Mr. Neri Alvarado, a Dallas-based baker, was arrested and deported to El Salvador prison for having an autism awareness tattoo in honor of his 15-year-old autistic brother. This was done despite never having been to El Salvador, despite having no gang affiliation, and despite having no organized crime connection. He was deported because ICE agents have been detaining, quote, all Venezuelans with tattoos. And to be clear, this type of racial profiling isn't just a one-off. In fact, the ACLU, using DHS's own data, mind you, found that at least 65% of the states and local agencies voluntarily working with ICE have records of racial profiling and civil rights violations. Mr. Franklin, first of all, and Sheriff, let me thank you for your service too, because I appreciate law enforcement. I just want to put that out there. But Mr. Franklin, Major Franklin, you're a decorated law enforcement officer. Yes or no, in your experience, does racially profiling people make communities safer?
No.
And yes or no, does ICE forcing state or local law enforcement to detain people make communities safer?
No.
You know, it's interesting because we've already, and we're going to, you know, do Groundhog's Day a couple of times, seemingly here. Actually, let me give you the facts real quick before I go to that. In fact, a report for the American Immigration Council found that cities that didn't enforce ICE detainers have 35.5% lower crime rates, 2.3% lower poverty rates, and relied less on public assistance, including 4.9% less for children under 18. And I do want to be clear right now, ICE is trying to work with the IRS because we actually take in billions of dollars because of immigrants in this country, and now they're going to try to get them out. And I'm going to tell you that the biggest issue that we have, I really don't think this should be a partisan issue, so I'm going to agree with my Republican colleagues. I think that we all should want to be safe in our communities. The problem that we have is that we have an incompetent administration. that everything that they touch turns to shit. Because what they do is they take a wide sweeping brush and they have decided that the enemy is now going to be immigrants instead of taking a scalpel. That's all we're asking, is to be exact in what you're doing instead of taking a sledgehammer to everything. Thank you, and I will yield.
What is happening is racial profiling is literally going on. Andrew, it is happening before our very eyes. Lawyers are fighting this, and this thing is even worse. These people are literally talking about, I'm going to show you this here, and for all the black folks who are like, man, ain't got nothing to do with us. No. Watch this here. Rubio says El Salvador offers to accept U.S. deportees of any nationality, including violent American criminals. These people literally are going to try to deport American citizens.
Yes.
That is just so disheartening. First, I want to say Jasmine Crockett is one of my favorite politicians of all time. The truth that she speaks unapologetically is something that I think we can all learn from. Me as a lawyer and being able to speak up and even sometimes open courtrooms and speak for someone's rights, and see her do it on a grand scale is just so inspiring. But, you know, what we're going to see is a lot more people running from the police, a lot more dangerous situations. Someone gets pulled over for going 20 just by the sheer fact that they look Hispanic or they look of a certain national origin. They're automatically going to say, even if I have all my papers, even if I am a U.S. citizen or I'm here legally with some kind of visa status, I am going to run from the police. And you're putting police officers in danger now, right? Because you're telling American citizens that you can be sent, just like the slave trade, you can be sent to another country simply because you look like a certain type of person. And the other side of this is going to be unreported crimes. How many people are going to be taking advantage of these communities because they know, well, if you report what I did to you, you know, if you report that I didn't pay you, or if I did something violent to you, if you report it, then they're going to send you to a country you've never been to before, right? So you better keep your mouth shut.
Right.
And black people, please stop saying, I'm glad that it's not me. I know we've dealt with it for decades. We withstood, we're resilient people, but please stop saying that it's not about me, because it is. Because of the fact that we've been through this, because of the fact that we've endured this, we should have a unique view and empathy for these other races and nationalities that are now going through with this. We had the same thing when 9/11 happened, right? Everybody that was Muslim and Arabic, they were targeted. Now we're seeing it happen to our Hispanic friends. And you think that these white folks can tell a difference between someone from El Salvador, someone from Colombia, and someone from Puerto Rico? No, they're snatching everyone up. And the last thing I'm going to say before I yield the floor back to you, Roland, is, you know, the people that I'm most disappointed in are my Hispanic friends that voted for Donald Trump. And then when they get arrested and deported, they say, oh, I didn't think that he was talking about me.
So just in case anybody is confused,
Yeah.
and y'all go like, oh, I think he's making that up. No. This is the idiot press secretary, Carolyn Levitt, literally confirming, yep, we're going to send Americans out the country. Listen.
Go ahead.
Over the weekend, President Trump said that he would be willing to have U.S. citizens deported to El Salvador with the cooperation of President Bukele. How would that work legally, and how many people would potentially be available for that operation?
So the president has discussed this idea quite a few times publicly. He's also discussed it privately. You're referring to the president's idea for American citizens to potentially be deported. These would be heinous, violent criminals who have broken our nation's laws repeatedly, and these are violent repeat offenders in American streets. The president has said if it's legal, right, if there is a legal pathway to do that, he's not sure. We are not sure if there is. It's an idea that he has simply floated and has discussed very publicly as in the effort of
That's a whole lot. Trust me, Joy, they're going to do it. They're going to do it.
Yeah, they're definitely going to do it. The Supreme Court is already contemplating. Sonia Sotomayor, in one of her opinions, has already said, you know what, this is coming. They understand that this is where this is going. And let's be clear, it's a sliding scale on what is a violent offender, what is a repeat offender. And also mistakes can happen, as we're seeing in Maryland. And once a mistake happens, it'll be difficult to get you back. And then, my goodness, if you are a dual citizen, if you have citizenship in another country, it can also be difficult to get you back. The government can feign some kind of confusion as to who you really belong to. This is going to happen. This is happening with legal residents right now. And yes, to my colleague's point, the communities that are vulnerable, whether they are undocumented, whether they are here legally but are not citizens, and when you are here legally and you are not a citizen, you are typically afforded all the rights and responsibilities of citizenship with the exception of voting, right? You're not able to vote, but you are given the same constitutional protections. And sometimes for undocumented persons, you're given the same constitutional protections. So, you know, ultimately, we may prevail in the courts, but in the meantime, there are going to be people who are lost in the sauce, who are lost in the system, and there are going to be people who are afraid, and they are going to limit their own activity because they are afraid of what might happen to them. I have friends who are law professors who've spoken out against Israel, and they are legally here, married to United States citizens, have their green card, but they are not citizens. And those people are making choices about what they are saying and not saying in terms of their policy and public policy and their legal work about what conferences they take overseas and which ones they don't, because they don't want to leave the country because they're afraid they may not be able to get back in. It's already chilling speech. This is as intended. And it's going to now open people up to criminal derision, people who are exposed to criminal enterprises and activities, because all people have to say is, you know what? You have family members who are undocumented. You have a green card.
Right.
You know what? You're a citizen, but you're poor and no one's going to listen to you.
Hey, Michael, on that particular point right there, lawyers are even shocked. They're just snatching student visas.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, students are like, what the hell did I do? Like, nah, you ain't coming back.
Yeah. This is what dictators do. This is what we were warning people about before the election. But two quick points here. First of all, this is not the first time in history where American citizens have been deported illegally. It happened in the 1930s during the Great Depression. Up to 1.8 million people of Mexican descent were deported to Mexico, and estimates are 60% of them were American citizens who were here legally. And it started under Herbert Hoover, continued under President Roosevelt, and Herbert Hoover had a campaign called American Jobs for Real Americans. And what they were saying was, but these Mexicans were taking jobs away from white people, and they were deporting them back to Mexico. And then when you talked about when Representative Jasmine Crockett talked about the IRS, ICE wants to get hold of records of undocumented immigrants with the IRS, because contrary to popular belief, undocumented immigrants pay federal taxes. And the Yale Budget Lab estimates that in 2023, unauthorized immigrant workers paid $66 billion in federal taxes, with roughly $43 billion of that taking the form of payroll taxes that fund Social Security and Medicare. So this is way beyond the pale of what many people thought Donald Trump would do. But this stuff is laid out in Project 2025.
But first of all, it was almost 1,000 pages. folk didn't read it. But here's the other deal. It didn't even matter. They kept saying, I don't think they're going to go that far. Yeah, they were. They spelled it out. They told you they were going to do it. And people like, well, no, Trump said that's not his plan. And so it's not going to happen. Okay. All right. Y'all believe the liar who lies about lies.
Yeah, well, he said what he was going to do during the campaign. Like he said he was going to shut down the Department of Education. That's Chapter 11 of Project 2025. OK, he railed against DEI, diversity, equity and inclusion, and said we want it based upon merit. He's doing all of those things. Well, OK, so
I tried to tell again.
We tried to tell
all the people who keep saying we didn't think it was going to happen. Damn, it's actually happening. Well, we tried to tell you it was going to happen, but now you didn't believe us. So now what?
Here at Sage and Elm, it's a plant thing. Everything is made by hand from plants, from our salves to our soaps, our lotions, our oils. Come shop our over 400 products made by hand from plants just for you, because you deserve the best.
Did you know that the Washington Monument is based upon an ancient African structure called a tekken that comes from the mythology of Asar, Arset, and Heru, who the Greeks called Osiris, Isis, and Horus? Did you know that the panther deity Bast in the movie Black Panther and Wakanda Forever comes from an ancient African deity, a neter in ancient Egypt, ancient Kemet, called Bastet? Did you know that there were 17 pyramids found buried underneath Egypt around 2011? Also, the city of Memphis, Tennessee. What's the relationship between Memphis, Tennessee and Memphis in ancient Egypt? I'm historian and national political commentator Michael Imhotep. Be sure to register for my new 12-week online history course, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Kemet is one of the original names for Egypt. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. Did you know that the word Wakanda is a real word? We find it in the Key Congo language, which is a Bantu language, but we also find it in the Omaha Ponca and Sioux Indian Native American languages. My class starts up Saturday, March 1st, 2025, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is a 12-week online history course. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. We do with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. When we talk about the transatlantic slave trade, we can't start our studying of the history in 1619 in Hampton, Virginia, or in Jamestown. We can't start in 1441 with the transatlantic slave trade starting with the Portuguese. We have to deal with thousands of years of history that leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. We'll deal with the 800-year occupation of Europe by the Africans known as the Moors, who take the teachings from the Nile Valley region of Africa into Europe, and this is what brings Europe out of the Dark Ages. We'll talk about ancient African empires, whether we deal with ancient Nubia, whether we deal with Kush, Kemet, Mali, Songhai, Ghana. This is a 12-week online history course. We deal with 80 to 100 articles. There are 200 slides that I show you in the class. There are video clips. There are 15 books that we reference. You don't have to buy any of the books to follow along in class. It's a very visual class, so we show you all that information right on the screen. The class is PG-13 as well, so you can use this with your children. Download my lesson plan from my website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Register right now. Right now, it's correct strong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We'll see you in class. Peace.
Is your child struggling with reading, writing, learning loss, and a culturally irrelevant curriculum? Do you want your child to be outstanding at reading and writing and also take pride in their culture? Then you want Reading Revolution Online. Reading Revolution Online is a web-based reading support program. We serve scholars in grades K through 8, and through our innovative approach, we help them build reading confidence and cultural identity development, equipping them for success in school and life. They learn about Black heroes and sheroes through captioned videos, reading selections, and other activities. Reading Revolution Online is an experience for the whole family. Do it for the culture. Go to readingrevolution.org and get your membership today.
Here at Sage and Elm, it's a plant thing. Everything is made by hand from plants, from our salves to our soaps, our lotions, our oils. Come shop our over 400 products made by hand from plants just for you, because